Hi there, welcome back to another video. In the video today we're going to be taking a look at some of my tips for how to do pitches for event work. My name's Mark Norman and I've been an event manager and event management lecturer for 25 years. And so I've seen many presentations and I've actually given many presentations to clients over that time, both as a freelancer and working for other companies. And I'm hoping this video will help you by giving you some tips on things that you need to think about when pitching for work. Now, my first top tip is to consider who is the audience. Now, you may have received some sort of brief from the client. You may kind of already know what it is that they're looking for. If you haven't, then you should definitely consider asking the client in advance of the pitch, what are their objectives for the event? Break those down and then focus your idea and what services you can offer on how they will achieve the client's outcomes. Now, these are going to be very different depending on the type of event. Ask the client, why are they organising the event? What are they seeking to do? Looking to educate people? Are they looking to celebrate some sort of cultural anniversary? Whatever it is, the focus of your pitch needs to be how what you'll do will achieve those objectives. That's really, really important. And you want to think about who is in the room. Hopefully, you can get an idea in advance of who will be watching the pitch and who is the decision maker. And then you can tone the pitch and word the pitch accordingly. Choose your language very carefully. If you're in a corporate environment, then you might want to use language that's very different to if you're pitching for, say, a cultural or a social event. For example, if you're a wedding planner and you're talking on a one-to-one with a particular wedding client. Each of the audience members is going to be slightly different, but of course, understanding what kind of language they speak and speaking accordingly, and of course dressing accordingly, is really, really important. So what do you actually put in an event pitch? First of all, you need to talk about your experience. A lot of people in the industry will want to know what it is that you've done in the past that will lead to the same success for their event. And of course, it depends on your own personal experience, but talk about which parts of your experience really relate to the objectives of the client and really emphasize those through the pitches. So of course you can talk about past event experience, talk about things like your timekeeping, talk about the way in which you work with people, the way you communicate with people. But if there's specific examples of where you've worked in the same sector and you've delivered similar outcomes, that's the kind of thing that you want to be talking about in the pitch. It's definitely worth not filling out this section too much because you could quickly lose track of time if you're just talking about your experience. And I've seen that happen before. The client really wants to know what it is that you're offering that will achieve their objectives. And let's get on to that next. So think about what is your unique offer. The client may be seeing several pitches that day and they have to make a decision. And what they're looking for is a standout idea that is going to help them decide or make the decision easy. And you want to be the one that they choose. So what is it about your offer and your idea and your creativity that is different from anything else that they've seen that day? What can you do to stand out from the crowd? And that's really important. Remember, what is it the one thing you can do, one or two things you can do that will help achieve their objectives in a way that nobody else that day has thought of. You definitely want to break down the services that you're proposing to offer for the event. Talk about the different kind of services, the planning, the operational, staffing services that you can provide, examples of some of the contacts that you've used in the past, different suppliers and different vendors. Depending on the type of event, and this is not appropriate for all events, but you might want to include some visual aids in terms of the slides as to give an idea of the kind of look that you're going for a particular event. Often called a mood board. It's not appropriate for all types of event, but certainly if you're looking at any kind of themed event, then a mood board or at least some pictures on slides, and I'll talk more about those later, is definitely a good thing here. It's important not to let this section get too long, and you want to be clear but not put yourself into a corner about the services that you can offer and the kind of creativity, so that further down the line, if you want to tweak things, you've got that flexibility to do it. When it comes to budgets, it's definitely worth not having an entire budget to present to the client. Now you might think, why wouldn't you do that? That might be the reason the client's going to make a decision on. Broadly, my advice would be to give a ballpark figure. Now the reason for this is if you give an exact figure, then you are kind of tied to that number later down the line. And you don't want that, because ultimately at this point you're just pitching for the work and you haven't actually fully costed the entire job. The more experience you have, the better this estimate will be, of course. But what you don't want is to obviously give a particular number and then it turns out to be more than that. If it's a corporate client, then they'll likely expect that there'll be some wiggle room with that budget. What they're really looking to make a decision on is how your idea meets their outcomes. And money may not come into it in such a large part. In some cases, clients may make the decision on money. Perhaps you also want to make it clear that you can be flexible as well, but really you're selling the wow factor, the uniqueness that I mentioned before, rather than just a budget. It's definitely worth at the end mentioning your terms and conditions. So, what are your payment terms and what are your cancellation terms? If you're a regular operator in events, then it's likely that you'll have these ready to go. If not, make sure that you've got something written up and you're clear about when you want the first payment and when you want the final remaining balance. Also be clear about which point that you will allow the client to cancel without having, losing their refund. And so some general presentation tips. Having watched so many different presentations over the years, I would give you these ideas. Number one, make sure that you don't put too much information, too much text on presentation slides. Try to aim for no more than 4 lines or 4 items on a presentation slide at any one time. The reason for this is you're the presentation, not the screen. And it's important that the client or whoever's watching your pitch doesn't get distracted by that. Try to use a unique template or style with your pitch. Again, that will help you stand out. I would generally advise against using the standard templates you find in something like Microsoft PowerPoint. Instead, my advice would be to use something like Canva, and I'll put a link in the description below, which is a free web-based design package where you can design a presentation slides. You can even download it into Microsoft PowerPoint if you wish, but there's a wide range of slides giving you the options to really brand your slides to your company. I'd also advise to consider using stock photos if you can't provide photographs of your previous events. So if you're just starting out and you don't have any kind of images of events that you've run previously, consider using services like Shutterstock, and I'll put a link in the description below, where you can download images for use in your PowerPoint. You do have to pay for them for the commercial use of them, and just as a warning, that link is an affiliate link, so it helps out the channel if you click it, but it won't actually end up costing you any more in the long run. But definitely include using large images in your PowerPoint slides. That will help them stand out. And my final tip for pitches and presentations is listen to the feedback and listen to the questions. When you find out if you actually get the job or the client says yes, or perhaps they say no, these questions can provide invaluable feedback, both on why you didn't get it, but also what could you do differently next time, and just work to keep improving your style, improving your offer, so that next time you can always walk into a room with confidence, knowing that you're giving the client exactly what they want through your pitch. I hope this video has been useful. If it has, please do consider liking it and also subscribing to the channel, as that really helps us grow and reach out to more people in the events industry. If you're interested in another one of my videos on how to plan events, click the link above and I'll see you soon.